And we are back. Sadly, it is the final week of the Champions League group stage. But what a group stage it has been, full of entertainment and drama, as you'd expect from the Champions League, including all of the chaos that happened last week. And we're going to wrap all of that up in a moment. Do not fear, though, there is still plenty to play for in the final game week, in certain groups anyway, but let's do our usual process. Let's round up the results from last week, look ahead to this final week of Champions League matches and get these predictions done. Drop a like if you are enjoying this series. Let's get straight into it. So, these were the games that were played last Wednesday night. These are the predictions that I went for, and these were the results. I would say the only real upset was the Bruges-Porto one, and I said it was going to happen. The one time I finally say, do you know what, Bruges, you've had a fantastic tournament. I'm going to back you this time. They lose 4-0 at home to Porto, which is the more likely result, in my opinion. But just the way Bruges had played so far, it did come as a bit of a shock. Then, of course, you had all of the drama that happened in that Atletico Madrid game. The full-time whistle blowing, then VAR awarding a penalty, which was then saved. And the rebound with an open goal, and he hits the bar. Just absolute chaos. All in all means that Atletico Madrid are now out of the Champions League. If they'd have scored that penalty, it could have been a very different story this evening, but it is what it is. And of course, the more VAR drama at the Tottenham game where Harry Kane's goal was rightfully ruled out for an offside. I know there's been a lot of debate around that offside decision over the last few days, but as far as I'm concerned, offside is offside, and I don't care if it's half a centimetre or 10 yards, it's offside. So I'm never going to complain about an offside VAR decision, and certainly not when it brings me 3 points in my prediction series. So that brings my matchday score for matchday 5 day 2 up to 7, and brings the season score now up to 54, which again I don't think is too bad considering how hard the Champions League is to predict. And of course, please let me know down in the comments how you got on, and let's look ahead to the final day for groups A, B, C and D. And we're going to start with Group A, and we're going to start with the one that, well, to be fair, both of these games don't really matter because of the potential goal difference swings, but there is still a chance of both of these respective games affecting final positions in the group. Rangers have to turn around, I believe it is a 4-goal lead against Ajax if they're going to get into the Europa League. Rangers have to win by 4 clear goals, otherwise they are completely out of Europe for this year. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has said that they are going to try everything in their power to pull that off. I think Ajax will rest players, so there is a chance of Rangers getting it done. I'm going to back them to get the win, but I'm not going to back them to get the actual 4-goal margin that they need, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 win for Rangers in that one. Obviously, if Ajax do decide to play their first team, which I doubt they will, but I imagine they'll keep a couple on the bench just in case. I think Ajax would win if they played their full-strength team, but I'm trying to make that additional prediction on top. Next up then, we have Liverpool against Napoli. Same sort of situation. Napoli won 4-1 in the reverse fixture, meaning that if Liverpool want to win the group, they have to beat Napoli by 4 clear goals as well. So it's going to be a very tough ask for them to do that. I don't think they're going to do it. On top of that, Napoli are protecting a run of 13 games in a row that they've won, and they haven't lost since April. So I can see Napoli making some changes, but I don't think they're going to make wholesale changes. They're going to want to protect their respective record. And I think it's an opportunity for Liverpool to rest some players as well. I know if they win the group and if all the English teams win their groups, the chances are Liverpool are either going to play Real Madrid, Bayern Munich or PSG. So they're not going to want that to happen in the next stage of the Champions League, but I still think Liverpool will potentially make changes as well. And with all of that said, I'm going to back Napoli to get the win, and I'm going to go for 2-1 Napoli. I just think they've played so well this season. They're on the verge of breaking the record for the most goals in a single group stage, and of course looking for that perfect 18 points. So I think they're going to go for it. I think they're going to get it, and I'm going to go for Napoli. On to Group B, which is actually the early kickoffs tonight. They are the two quarter to 6 games in Group B. We start with Leverkusen against Brugge. I'm just going to get out of the way. I'm doing Brugge to lose. They deserve to lose after what happened last week. I'm going to go for 3-2. All the Bayer Leverkusen games have been very chaotic. Goals left, right and centre. And there is still, again, a lot to play for in this group as well. Brugge are 1 point ahead of Porto. Atletico are 1 point ahead of Bayer Leverkusen, so a Bayer Leverkusen win would see them into the Europa League, and of course Bruges need to win to guarantee a top spot in the group and potentially get a better draw in the next round of the Champions League. But I'm going to go for Bayer Leverkusen. Like I said, I gave Bruges the respect last week and they lost 4-0, so I'm just going to do them to lose this time. As for the other game in the group, Porto, as I said, will be up against Atletico Madrid. Atletico need to win to guarantee the Europa League place. Porto need to win to have a chance of getting top spot in the group. And the way that the two teams have played this season, I think there's only really one winner in this scenario, and that's Porto. So I'm going to go for 2-0 to Porto and just leave it there. And if Atletico drop out completely, it serves them right as far as I'm concerned, because they have been awful in this year's Champions League. Next up, we have the group of Victoria, Barca, Bayern and Inter. This is, of course, Group C, and we start off with the game that means absolutely nothing whatsoever. Victoria Plzen guaranteed to finish bottom of the group. Barcelona guaranteed to finish in the Europa League place. So this is just a game where Barcelona will more than likely make wholesale changes, but the quality that they do have should still be far too much for Victoria Plzen. I'm sure Victoria Plzen will see this as a great opportunity to get a win against Barcelona, but I still think Barcelona should take this on pretty comfortably. I'm going to go for 4-0 Barcelona. It could be less, it could be more. I really don't know when there's nothing on the line. So 4-0 I think is just a fair result. And speaking of nothing on the line, Bayern Munich are on 15, Inter Milan are on 10. So this game also means nothing depending on the result. So again, I would expect teams to make multiple changes respectively, especially with this run up to the World Cup. Key players are not going to want to risk injury going into the World Cup, and a game like this is not worth the effort. Bayern, of course, are looking for that magic 18 points as well, though. So I'm going to back them to get the win. From a FIFA perspective, I hope Inter Milan get the win. But I'm going to go for 3-1 to Bayern Munich in that one there. And finally, the main event of the evening, which is, of course, Group D, where we have Marseille on 6, Sporting and Frankfurt on 7, and Tottenham on 8. So the very, very rare scenario where quite literally anyone could finish anywhere in this group. And this is exactly what you want from a group stage of any competition. You want drama right to the finish. So we'll start with the two teams that are level in second and third, and that is Sporting and Frankfurt. Sporting on top because they won 3-0 away at Frankfurt earlier in the season. So with that said, and with current form coming into it, I'm going to back Sporting to get the win. I'm not going to go for a scoreline like 3-0. I think this whole group has been so tight that both of these games are going to be incredibly tight games. But I'm going to back Sporting. I'm going to go for 2-1. And that would, of course, see Sporting through regardless of what happened in the other game. And then we do have the other game. Marseille at home to Tottenham. Tottenham only need a draw to progress to the next stage of the Champions League. They will only finish runners-up if they get a draw, unless the other game is a draw. And, of course, if they win, they're guaranteed to win the group. If they lose, then, depending on the scoreline, Marseille could go above them. And, of course, one of, or potentially both, of the other teams could go above them. So it's a very, very interesting game. And all jokes aside, we do know Tottenham have an absolute history of bottling it when it comes to a key game. However, they did just have that big comeback win against Bournemouth off the back of some terrible results over the last couple of weeks. And I'm not going to back them to fully bottle it, but I am not going to give them the win. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw like I did last week. Marseille are, of course, fighting for a bit of reputation right now. They've had a really bad run, both in the Champions League and Liga and over the course of this month. So they're going to be looking for something to end their group stage on a positive. They're going to be wanting to get a minimum Europa League spot. So I think a draw is the fairest result. And I'm very interested to see what happens, because I think if Marseille turn up, the way Spurs have been playing recently, they'll turn them over. But if Spurs do build off the back of that comeback against Bournemouth, they will get the win themselves. So that is going to be it for today. I will, of course, be back tomorrow for Matchday 6, Day 2, and the final day of the Champions League group stage. As always, please let me know down in the comments how you think today's matches are going to go. Drop a like if you're enjoying this series. Subscribe if you are new around here, and I will see you again tomorrow morning. Thank you very much for watching.